Silksong's cheap price has proven controversial. While many are rather pleased that Silksong costs so little, many are concerned about what it could mean for the future of all indie games. Gee, guys, I wonder who's mad about Silksong being priced cheap? It couldn't be us, the consumer. I know who it is. It's the developers whose motto is provide a shit price and a shittier game. They are mad because a developer came along again, like Claire Obscure, again like Baldur's Gate, and provided a good price and an even better game. As good as it is for the ordinary folk, it has proven to be a source of controversy for other indie developers who believe it will distort player expectations. You know, a perfect parallel to try and represent their point of view would be sponsored content for content creators. There's content creators out there who average the exact same amount of views as another content creator, but they lowball and offer a lower price in order to get the deal. But what this ends up doing is it ends up kind of butchering content creators across the whole in that similar performance, because this guy lowballed. What happens is lowball. Now everybody who could have been charging X amount of dollars is now only charging this amount of dollars. I could understand their point of view from that perspective, but here's where it starts to collapse. It's very simple. Are you unique? Because I can tell you right now, a lot of the developers in the gacha space come to me in particular and request me in particular because of my way of representing content, because of how I speak, because of how I deliver things, and of course, my influence in the space. This is what will always separate you from everyone else. Are you unique enough to still be able to charge the rate you want to charge? Same thing with indie developers. Are you good enough to where it doesn't matter what the hell everybody else is doing? Your game, your product is so good and so undeniably high quality that people are still going to purchase it and come to you anyways. In short, it's a fucking skill issue. Developer RJ Lake, $20 for potentially 30 to 40 hours of content is a great value proposition. Indeed it is. But it is easy for Team Cherry to price it so low. Team Cherry can price however low they want. As a result, their return on investment is infinite no matter what they do. The sheer success of Hollow Knight, coupled with the staggering amount of hype behind Silksong before launch, practically guaranteed this to be true. This is the kind of level of intellectual dishonesty I despise the most, because here's the crazy thing. What he's saying is absolutely true, but a lot of people do this out there in the world, and it's very frustrating, and let me explain why. They only talk about you when you're at the top of the mountain, and they speak about you as if it's like a privilege being up there, but they never talk about how you climbed to the top of the mountain and the steps you took, as well as the tenacious perseverance you had to get there. They only reference you when you're already successful, which is such a bad faith presentation. You see, Team Cherry didn't just poof out of thin air and become the highly respected dev across the scope of the space. They quite literally had to get it out the mud. You know, there's a joke in the gacha space where we call the billion-dollar companies small indie companies, but Team Cherry was literally a small, unknown indie studio that released a game called Hungry Night as their first IP that flopped massively. It got a 1 out of 5 on Newgrounds when it first released. This lack of notoriety proves that when they dropped their next IP, Hollow Knight, it had nothing to do with an established reputation or a monumental budget. It was more so packed by, well, passionate developers who wanted to deliver a good product. And here's the crazy thing. They had no budget. These guys were pretty much ramen noodle budgets. In fact, they had to do a Kickstarter to go get the money to create Hollow Knight. Backed by 2,158 people, they were able to raise a modest 57,000 Australian dollars. Now, there is something important that you guys need to keep in mind here. At this point, nobody knows who they are, nobody cares who they are. They're doing all of this with the high risk of the game still failing. That is exactly what is required when you're a little guy stepping inside of a field that is high risk, high reward. There are no handouts. There's a lot of failure and there's a lot of risk. But if you're willing to take those chances, things can pay off. One fun fact I would like to mention today is that in 2025, there are over 3.3 billion gamers and growing. If you make a good game, gamers will find it. Continuing on, the first Hollow Knight offered a vast amount of content for its $15 price point, including 15 explorable zones, numerous bosses, and secrets that encouraged exploration. Players on Reddit noted they would have paid $30 or $40 for the game due to its richness, highlighting how its value contributed to its appeal. And here lies the magic formula of organic marketing. Word of mouth will always be the best form of marketing. It's the most organic communication to express your feelings and sentiments on a product that you have tried. And get this, boys, what sounds better to you? Man, I just played this game. It was $15 and I got so much value out of it. I actually cannot believe the price of this game. That shit is a steal. Versus, man, I just bought this game for $40. It's an indie game. I know, but get this. The money was well spent, bro. The content that they're offering in it, it's gonna match the price. I promise you, you won't regret it. I think it's obvious which one is the easier selling point when we're talking about word of mouth. And this is what developers fail to comprehend in today's society. In fact, they don't match either one these days. They provide a shit price and a shittier game. It's like, yo, I spent $70. It's got bugs, performance issues, half-baked content, shit dialogue. Oh my. It's simple, guys. Stop pricing games at shit prices and making shittier games, and start pricing games at good prices and making better games. You guys want to talk about the price point being at $20 for Silksong, but you failed to mention that before anybody knew or gave a fuck about Hollow Knight dev team, they still were doing the same things. They gave the first Hollow Knight a $15 price point and it had 30 to 50 hours of content, and nobody knew who they were. It's not rocket science, man. This will always build a better rapport with the consumer, and they will trust that you will deliver on the next product you're working on. The first Hollow Knight sold 15 million copies, and then they proceeded to drop 4 free 99 DLCs. Once again, these are the kind of statements that build rapport with the consumer. A lot of you guys are small indie companies with no name, no reputation, no notoriety. And you're thinking that you have the right to charge prices that are the standard prices of the industry. Why should I buy your $20 game with only 10 hours of content? I don't even know who the hell you are. It's like the same concept with content creation. A lot of these smaller content creators think they're owed more relevance, and they haven't done shit to prove so. Life's not fair, man. And when you go into a high risk, high reward field, you can't complain about the high risk. You walked into that, my friend. Just like I walked into content creation and didn't succeed for 3 goddamn years. It is what it is. A lot of us have chosen the fields we want to be in, and some of us dream a bit bigger than others. Hey, if you want to go in that field where you can go from a ramen noodle budget to steak and lobster dinners every single day, which 99% of the world will never ever get to experience, well then you got to deal with the size of the fucking mountain you're trying to climb. The last talking point I want to go over before we conclude this topic is how developers try to justify their price point for their games, their absurdly high price points, and they use the excuse, oh, well, the development cost, that's why we have to charge this. Although it can apply to certain developers for sure. Case in point, some of the smaller developers, they can take 2 years to build a game. And in that 2-year time, obviously, the longer they work on it, the higher the payroll gets for paying people without generating any revenue, which I can understand to some capacity. But a lot of these AAA companies will try and justify this cost. And what's wild is it's like, okay, AAA company budget $200 million to develop the game, and then another 100 to 200 put into marketing. In totality, we have a $400 million budget here. Obviously, to recoup that $400 million budget, you can't give the game away for free. There needs to be a price point attached to it on top of a particular number of sales to recoup that investment. But here's the thing. They have on hand data that lets them know on average how many copies are going to be sold for the IPs that the fandoms are loving. For an example, if they're trying to drop the next Assassin's Creed, they're looking at all of the Assassin's Creed titles and going, oh, okay, 8 million sold here, 12 million sold here, 15 million sold on that one. We look at an average here, and I'm just throwing out numbers. On the low end, it's 10 million sold, and on the high end, 15 million sold over the span of 5 years or whatever. This is how many sell on the first day, though. They're taking all of these numbers and they're going, okay, so if we charge $70, That means at bare minimum, we're going to make $700 million despite only spending 300 to 400 in development costs, including marketing. So a profit of $300 million bare minimum is going to be acquired at the $70 price point. But if the game pops off and gets 15 million, well, now we made 1.3 billion in revenue. Subtract away the 400 million, we almost made $1 billion in profit. It's like you take that into consideration and you realize these price points that they're talking about are complete and utter bullshit. They don't have to charge these prices that they're charging. They choose to charge those prices and then release buggy games with performance issues, shit dialogue, half-baked content, and then they hit you with DLCs and early access fees. It's all a load of garbage, and as usual, it's not rocket science. It always boils down to one thing: greed and trying to maximize a profit versus trying to deliver a quality content video game. They can absolutely charge a lower price and deliver an even better product, but that will require more work. Well, you can see how we're in an industry where this type of thing exists. And that is precisely why games like Hollow Knight Silksong, Clair Obscur, and Baldur's Gate deserve unwavering support, because they are a testament to calling out the bullshit that a lot of these developers try and convince you of. That's going to wrap up this video. As always, I hope I provided some insight, some entertainment, and some good perspective. Comment down below and let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side.